We're gonna get started though. With Mockit versus Alpha Sydney. I'll probably do, I don't know, 1 or 2. We'll see. This is Mockit versus Alpha Sydney. I'm gonna get right into the game, so. Oh. This was winners round 2, I believe. So same round as Flipside Selfless happened, and also the same round that Rogue versus Leftovers happened. So at this moment, the winner of this game was going to be one to play against Rogue. Rogue are waiting for them in the winner's semis. And Rogue were feeling reasonably confident against either of these teams. Although all eyes were on Mockit at this point, because we weren't sure how well they were going to do on stage. That was a really dangerous hit by Jake. All eyes were on Mockit. We weren't sure how well they were going to do on stage, especially Fairy Peak, because Fairy Peak was a rookie. Well, this was his rookie season. And it was interesting to see him playing Octane. I did like that choice myself, because, like I've said before, I feel like Octane makes less misses occur. So it was good to see him playing Octane, because I feel like a longer car he'd be more likely to whiff. It would be a little bit difficult, perhaps, to play with consistency. Hey, Big Shot L, thanks for the sub. I appreciate that, buddy. Welcome to the stream. Starting off pretty differently to the Alpha Sydney game versus Denial. Alpha Sydney versus Denial. Denial actually sat back and watched Alpha Sydney attack them. And Alpha Sydney really should have taken the lead in that first game that they played against Denial. But this is Mockit bringing the pressure to Alpha Sydney. And I don't know if that was their plan going into this game or if it just happened. But with the speed that Mockit are able to bring to the table, I would think that this was always going to be the likely outcome. That Mockit would be the pressuring team, and it was going to be Alpha Sydney's counterattacks that would get them into the game if they were ever going to have a chance. Denial shouldn't have been in land. Of course they should. They beat G2. They deserved it. They deserved their spot. I think G2 would have probably done better, because the crowd would have been more behind them. And that roster is, I believe, more talented than Denial. Good pass. This is the sort of thing that was making Jam's life difficult versus Northern Gaming. Like, just passing plays. And the time that Fairy Peak has there is really criminal by Alpha Sydney. It's kind of like the lack of man marking in a real sport. Same thing. No man marking. Nobody really picking out Fairy Peak up there. Nobody blocking his shot. Nobody blocking his receival of the pass. That was, of course, very bad news that Fairy Peak scored, because, like I said, nerves were perhaps going to play a factor for him. Mystic and K-Dop are two players that have played on RLCS LAN before, and there was nowhere near as many question marks over their heads. But with Fairy Peak, there is lots of question marks. Real Sport, yeah, sorry, I knew somebody was going to complain about that. But Fairy scoring on this, I'm sure that settled his nerves a lot. I didn't get a chance to ask him about that myself. I did talk to him a few times. He's a really nice guy. Very professional. And it was really good to see him having such a good debut season, because oftentimes a new player might just come on stage, especially European players playing on American soil. It's a lot of pressure. We saw Snasky and Farah struggling under that pressure versus Rogue. Interesting that Torsos went for a dribble here. There was an option should Drippe have, veered off to the right to set up a passing play. Clear angle really wasn't very smart there by Jake. Hitting it right at the Mockit player. Thoughts on Mystic's performance this LAN? Mystic's performance was pretty good, I'm not gonna lie. He played really well. I was impressed. The thing about players like Mystic and other players that I'd put in this category would be Devo and who else would I put in this category before I explain it? Well, Cuxer in the past has been one of these players. Garrett G as well. The thing about these players on LAN is that they're the players who have been able to stand out when their teams needed them the most. Like, they performed the best against the other good teams who were present. I think Devo, that's why I think he was my pick for MVP for the entire LAN, just because he stood out in the very, very tough games for Northern Gaming. I think Flipside will break up, who knows, dude. Flipside are taking and all the teams are taking a little bit of a, break to digest the LAN and everything that occurred there. So it'll take a while to find out what everybody's final destination will be. I'm sure that some players are going to change teams, but I don't know what those players will be. And of course, if I did know, I wouldn't say, because that would not be very fair on people who want to keep things behind the scenes. The Alpha Sydney backboard defense looking a lot better than the Jam backboard defense against Northern Gaming. So Northern Gaming were able to almost shut out Jam completely, the other Australian team. And that was the only OCE versus Europe matchup that we had seen up until this point. And although Alpha Sydney have looked second best here, they haven't looked as out of it as Jam did versus Northern. And that was a really smart challenge by Mystic. Notice how it didn't matter whether the Alpha Sydney player would fake it or hit the ball. It wouldn't matter because Mystic was coming at an angle that would allow him to intercept both. Game faces on for Mockit. They were ready for this, of course. Do I know who F2 were talking trash about? Yes, I do. I think it's pretty funny. I was hoping that it would result in more Twitter drama, because I always love to see that from the outside looking in.
Alpha Sydney need the comms on point, and as soon as someone started, you could actually tell the moment someone started to mention, leave someone upfield, because they were going for these long looping touches to get the ball away from their own net, but there was no follow-up, and then about the 2 minute remaining, that suddenly changed. It's the comms right now for Alpha Sydney. Their ability to adapt will pretty much show us whether or not they will. I wonder
if the next game is going to start soon. I wish that I could like hover over this player and find out when it's going to start. Let's find it, because it might be a break. There it is. Okay, we're right at the start of the second game. Ooh, Fairy Peak nearly scored though. Let's back it up and see what happened. Off kickoff. Good hit by Mystic. So Mystic actually passing the ball up the wall to Fairy Peak there. It's pretty smart.
Okay, that was caught us off guard. But the big problem when you have an aggressive team is they need boosts to get up and make plays.
Oh, there's Mystic.
What a shot from
Mystic, very, very good at rebounds. If anybody watches this guy's stream, because he does live stream on Twitch, he sometimes does things and scores goals that catch himself by surprise. Like, he'll score a goal and he'll be like, because he doesn't even have time to figure out what he's doing in his head. It just happens. He's a natural when it comes to aerials and rebounds. He was trying to hit that ball straight forward so he could follow up himself, as you saw, looking for a double touch. Or a, you know, aerial to the backboard, then rebound all by himself. And Mystic's certainly one of the best aerial players in the game. He would say so himself. He does need to work on his ground game, but aerial game is very, very solid. Oh, that was a nice touch by Mystic though. Will he be able to get the ground game? No, he won't. The shot is lacking. A lot of goal to aim at there, and he could have maybe taken a touch and then volleyed it. He looked for the half volley, but I feel like dribbling closer and then volleying the ball right after touching it infield would have caught Torsos off guard. Probably the better shot when that much of the goal is open to aim at. Love the pass back by K-Dop there. Fairy Peak's shot also lacking. There's a couple of bad shots here by Mockit, but the pass from K-Dop is very good. I like that. Back when Mystic was in Mockit the first time, he was the best aerial player in the game. Maybe. There were a lot of good aerial players back then. I mean, Mystic's good at flashy aerials, but the Weedham Girls players were so far ahead of the world in terms of just consistency with aerial play. I would probably put Remco and Greasy in the best aerial player. Lachinio was also in the conversation back then. And of course Cuxer, goes without saying. It's a bit of a giveaway again by Drippy. He's looking to get the ball away from his goal, but it's pretty meaningless in where it ends up, because it just goes straight back to Mockit. Good jump by Mystic, looking to get rid of that demo attempt. Excuse me. Can't believe you're a McDonald. Yeah, I'm a McDonald, dude. Who's Weedham Girls? Weedham Girls is the very, very old, or not very old, I guess they're just over a year old team, consisting of Greasy, Maestro, and Remco. They were picked up by Northern Gaming, but before then they were called Weedham Girls. The first team who really brought fast aerial play, rebound play to the forefront of the world stage. So let's see what happened here. The camera was really quite far away. Bad clear by K-Dop. Very big stationary. Mystic whiffing. So a couple of things. Everything going wrong really there for Mockit. And Drippy, who was probably the best player going into the LAN for OCE, finally finds the net in the series. It would have been insane if Alpha Sydney were able to win this game. Imagine the run they would have been able to go on, because suddenly, like, taking down Denial, everybody was kind of thinking, well, Denial are the weakest team here out of all the European and American teams, but if you could beat Mockit, then there's going to be two questions asked. One of them is, how good are Alpha Sydney? Are they really that good on stage? And the second one is, are Mockit choking? Like, because with players like Fairy Peak on his debut, and K-Dop and Mystic, of course, having relatively successful lands before, but none of them having blinding performances. Blindingly good. What a pass! That's a beautiful pass. That was really well done by Alpha Sydney. Crossfield pass uncontested. Should have been a goal. Another crossbar. They're getting a lot of crossbars in this tournament. You guys who did watch the previous review of Alpha Sydney against... who was it again? It was Alpha Sydney against Denial. Would have seen a lot of crossbars for Alpha Sydney that series. Just lacking accuracy a little bit. But not by much. What happened to Lichinio? Lichinio just decided to take a break from competitive after failing to qualify for the group stage of RLCS Season 3 in America, alongside Squishy Muffins and Torment, his team Iris. I've been seeing him streaming Rocket League again though, so hopefully that's a comeback. Nice demo, very well done. Beautiful demo by Jake here, opening up the net. So Jake leaning forward there just to make sure the ball arcs into the crossbar. He had options to shoot that low into the ground to bounce it, or right at the goal. He leaned forward at the last second just to get the ball up high, and then takes out the keeper after the fact. And it didn't really look like the third, Drippy for Alpha Sydney, didn't really overcommit there either. They had all bases covered. Drippy was in the midfield ready to intercept a clear should it occur. Yeah, I think Jake was definitely the best player. He stepped up hugely. Because in scrims, initially, when I saw Flipside scrimming against Alpha Sydney, I felt like the best player was Drippy, and then Torsos, and Jake was struggling to keep up. But he improved so much, and he really started to shine on stage. Very, very clutch performance. And indeed performances. The cleanest half flip from Torsos. You'll be disappointed with that because that's one of the advantages of playing keyboard, is the half flips are usually quite clean. Listen to the crowd, they just love seeing Alpha Sydney win. I mean, I did too. I was really hoping Alpha Sydney would take this to Mockit because they were the underdogs and everybody wanted to see them do well. And they were great personalities on stage and in the interviews as well. Look at that.
The boys right there, just in the zone. They are not taking that one win as enough. They can now focus on winning this entire...
Was there a rule at LAN they had to use Cristiano wheels? No, a lot of players just like to use Cristiano wheels because they make them feel faster. Did I see Method signed a lot Mets and Magnus? Yes, I'm very happy to see that. That's a really exciting move. Really good to see those guys getting picked up. Very good team.
It's something that it's really interesting to see a team that they do have a very small player base compared to the other regions, and because of that...
Alright, let's get back into the next game. Seems like this series has been longer delays between games. I want to see what happened on kickoff though. Alpha Sydney have been doing very neutral kickoffs. I've got to criticize their kickoff once again, like I did in the Denial series. I really don't like how neutral they're making their kickoffs. Because they're not cheating all the time. Like there was no cheater for Alpha Sydney, and we saw double dodge approach from them on the face-off to try and neutralize the ball, and that does not make sense if you're not going to cheat, or at least leave a goalkeeper in net. Neutral kickoff for double boost grab does not make much sense. I don't know if you guys can hear this fidget spinner here. I'm not trying to put it in the microphone specifically, but it just so happens that that's where my hand is. Good shot by Mystic. That set up as well. The shot was really smart because I don't think Jake expected him to shoot at that post. Check my email. I did. Sorry, I prefer watching VODs. Like, a lot of people have told me you can get the replays, but I don't want to. I want to watch VODs. VODs is more fun. Reviewing a VOD is more fun for me than reviewing a replay. That's why I do it. That's a bit of a fortunate landing by Drippy. It's good positioning by Jake though. He's giving Drippy the option to just drop the ball into the midfield. Help him clear it. Mystic. Really carrying here. That was his ridiculously good solo goal. 1v3 pretty much. Why? Because I like to see the entire production. I don't just want to see the replay. Like, if I was in the replay, like, I'd have to pause to change perspective a lot, whereas this is somebody changing perspective for me, which is quite nice. Again, Mystic playing very well, trying to stop the ground pinch attempt, which would have possibly been on net there for off Sydney. Stop with the fidget spinner is actually really annoying. Alright, can you hear it?
I think it's good though. They're reverting back to what worked in the first game.
Wonder what's light if I do it like this. I'll put it behind the microphone. You guys won't hear it over here, probably. But wouldn't the analysis be better? Yeah, I mean, I want to have fun though with this. I'm not just going to sit down and... I mean, I feel like I can perfectly see what's going on in these games from the most of the spectating that is occurring at RLCS.
Well, the ball is played back up high. Mystic there first with a shot on net, pushed over by Jake.
That sort of double commit does happen quite a lot from Mockit, where two players are going at the ball at the same time, but more so than any other team, they're able to make that sort of strategy work, because they're so fast at recovering, and they're usually so good at keeping boost on under their control, that it's difficult to punish them for all of these double commits that they do. We have yet to see a jump prediction as well from anybody in the lobby. We've yet to see a jump prediction. Trying to match somebody jumping over the demo attempt. Oh, miss it from Torsos turns into a good pass actually. Did I see an email about a graphics guy? Not that I can remember, but I mean I get a ton of emails, and some of them, if it doesn't look like something that's interesting to me, I just don't continue reading it. I'm just you know, I just delete it and forget about it. Because I get too many emails to give everything my full attention, unfortunately. If it's not something that I really need to pay attention to, I'm probably not going to. Oh. Oh, has Mystic done it again? No. Alright, that was a little bit lucky. If Mystic had more boost here, he would have hit this pass better. It looks like he has very little boost, so he wasn't able to do a good pass. And very lucky goal for Mockit here. Hey, Fly, thanks for the 3 months. Appreciate it, buddy.
Hi, Johnny, defiantly coming back for 3 months.
It's good to have you back, buddy. You are welcome. Opinion on all the Dominus players of Alpha Sydney. I've said this before, but I'll say it again. I really feel like the Dominus prominence in Australia and OCE as a region is probably due to the fact that the best players in the region were using Dominus even months ago. Oh, Tarsus looking for a dunk there. Yeah, people often just copy the best players, so that's why, like when Cuxer used to use Dominus, a lot of people in Europe were using Dominus because he liked it, and Octane was Marky Duda's choice, and Mike Rules' car choice, so a lot of people had that also. Octane has also just been the car that a lot of people have used since the very beginning. But I don't know, I wouldn't be surprised if you start to see some more Octane players popping up on OCE after this LAN. You're never going to miss this if you're Mystic. He's just so consistent with these. I think it was actually open. He could have just shot that ball and it would have been a goal. Tarsos would have struggled to save a high aerial, but Mystic's so good at double touches as well. Maybe second only to Devo in that regard.
Something about their scrims, they just weren't looking comfortable, and he's like, you know what? It's fine. We're gonna like hustle all these teams because Mystic is on fire this week.
Well played off the side. 15 seconds.
Yeah, Mystic's having an absolute blinder here. The reason that I thought K-Dot might have pipped him for the MVP for Mockit was just because when it got to the nitty-gritty, like, this is a series that Mockit really should be winning. and despite the loss in game 2, they have looked like they're very much in control. And in a series like that, you don't really need to be MVP, but in a series where it's super tight, that's when you want to look at your players and see who's performing the best. Oh, it's a good shot by Fairy Peak. Initially, the power there was very good. Hey, thanks for the 2 months, by the way, Xander the Parrot. Welcome back to you. Appreciate that. Mystic Aerials gave you chills. Yeah, they certainly did. Mystic is a monster in the air. Looks like breaks were longer in this game. Alright, so there we saw Mystic intentionally losing the kickoff to the back, which I'm not sure why they did that, because Alpha Sydney have opted into neutral kickoffs a lot this series, and indeed this tournament, without cheating alongside that. So if Mockit were paying attention, they could probably just cheat, kill the ball, and, you know, immediately take possession most of the time. I feel like that's a weakness that Alpha Sydney had that not many teams, if anyone, identified at the LAN. The demos have been on point though. Once again, they're able to get the demo. Mockit need to be more careful. K-Dot fluffed the clear though, it has to be said. What I think of the tie Shogun is wearing, and I did get a look at it. I did not get a look. Did Cuxer lose his title of God after F3's losses? I mean, I wouldn't say Cux is the best player in the world right now. He's been in a bit of a slump. His LAN performance is certainly the weakest that we've seen from him. That should have been a pass back to Jake. This is just a giveaway of possession from Alpha Sydney. Jake was wide open looking for the return ball. Oh. That is a huge clear from the pinch. See right there, if Mystic had committed early, that would have been really bad news, but because he didn't, it turned K-Dop's pop into a good setup. Even though K-Dop could have left that and Mystic could have gone for the aerial much earlier. It's totally fine to pop it up in the air, give Mystic a second go at it. Top 5 in 3s and 1s. In 1s, it's probably Scrub, Dapper, Cux, K-Dop, Fairy Peak. But yeah, Squishy, Devo, Flores, also all played really well recently. Yeah, just underestimation of what K-Dop is able to do here. Jake did not expect K-Dop to be putting it in that early, so really well done by K-Dop. It's a shame the crowd just don't care though. Like, that goal would have got an eruption from the crowd if it was Rogue or NRG that scored it. Even if Selfless scored it, or if Alpha Sydney scored that, the crowd would have erupted. And I know, crowd, that you want Alpha Sydney to win, but come on, that was one of the best goals of the tournament. Great job by K-Dop coming off the wall and then dodging to put the ball in the top corner. Crowd just silent. You could hear it doesn't match. It makes a mismatch with the casting as well, because Shogun wanted to hype it up, but the crowd's so quiet that it makes Shogun's hype seem out of place, but really it was that good a goal. It deserved the hype.
Well, I do like seeing Mockit drop those passes back, maintaining possession, but it does allow the
oh, not the best first touch here by Torsos. He would have loved to take that in field and then flick it to the back post. The Mockit traffic jam. What is going on here? Not looking good. Oh, that should have been a goal. Jake, top right, was looming. Yeah, the crowd only really cheered for North American goals, or like equalizers in overtime from Flipside, or Alpha Sydney because they're the underdogs. They have to realize that some goals deserve some respect. The job of the crowd in the venue is not just to enjoy the games. Their job is to make the hype, or bring the hype as well. So if you're at a future RLCS event, then bring the hype, get loud, get animated, have some fun. Oh, Fairy Peak looked like he was on point for that. Boost was low though. NA cried, by the way. Hey, Sweep7, welcome to the stream. I appreciate the sub. Even if you're just like in a silent game like this, just have some fun, start some chants, or have some games where you try and cheer or react based on certain situations. It's a great slow air dribble off the wall. It's not even air dribble. It's a good slow aerial rather by K-Dop. He saw Drippy was going to go for a pre-jump save, so he just waited for Drippy to get out the way and then slammed it to the bottom corner. Should have probably been saved by the second defender, but not on this occasion.
Must score.
Ball getting played back inside as Jake is going to clear this one down. K-Dop pretty much on the ceiling to get that clear back into Alpha Sydney territory. But this is what I like to see some Torsos trying to dribble. Actually, it's going to play that straight down.
We should be on Tarsos' camera right here. I don't know what we're doing on Drippy. Tarsos has been dribbling for a long time there. Would have been very interesting to see his line get inside his head, see what he's thinking. Jake, nearly better shot than last time, but still not good enough. Oh, and then Drippy, I remember that misplay. So Drippy, he's trying to keep the offensive going, but he just was slightly out of position. Slightly out of position. If he was a little bit deeper there, he could have gone straight at that ball and boomed it over the crossbar, but with his angle that he had, it was really difficult. And like Dominus and long cars, sometimes you just get a fluffy hit like that. It doesn't go far enough. You're surprised Mockit didn't win with this amazing plays. Mockit did lose to LAN by a game, so I mean they didn't do too badly. Northern Gaming were exceptional. Certainly the deserving team of the title in my opinion. It's a great save by Fairy Peak. Again, we're seeing that more and more. Half flip out of the aerial by Tarsos after he realizes he's not going to make it in time to the ball. And that first touch might be too heavy. Yeah, Tarsos just allowed Mystic to close the gap there. His first touch was a little too hard. Oh, Kid up. You thought that with this hitbox of the Octane he would be able to reach that. They're not afraid to double commit because they're already up by 2. That'll be game set match. Mockit, certainly too good for Alpha Sydney in the series. It seemed like Alpha Sydney just weren't ready for the individual skill that Mockit brought to the table. Mystic and K-Dop, really phenomenal goals, solo goals. And that's something that Alpha Sydney won't be used to playing against West Coast NA and OCE competition. Haha, Borsing Burger, thank you for the 8 months. Nice joke, by the way. Appreciate the resub, though. But I mean, they got a game. I'm sure that's more than most people expected. I thought that after I saw Mockit win game 1, I really thought this was going to be a sweep. But Alpha Sydney had a lot of guts. They did not give up. Never gave up. It's really good to see a team who can believe in themselves like that. K-Dop and Mystic reign supreme on the day though. Fairy Peak, not a bad performance for his first ever LAN appearance on RLCS as well. So what you're saying is that Octane is the best card. I think that Octane is less likely to yield misses and bad hits in a LAN environment and, you know, any environment. But with LAN being a higher pressure situation, mistakes are more likely to occur, and Octane is less likely to have those mistakes because it's got a taller hitbox. Who do I think Turbo will team up with? I'm not really sure. I mean, I saw him doing Gfinity with Violent Panda and K-Dop, so maybe that's a possibility. I don't know any actual plans though. Hey Sweeve, thanks for the throwback. You're the Scrub Killer t-shirt? Nice, dude. That was good fun.
Alright guys, give it up for this guy, huh?
I feel like Awesome Joy should probably be saying give it up for Mystic instead of give it up for this guy. You should just give Mystic the, you know, the time in the microphone.
Unknown entity, so I'm a little bit yesterday playing and stuff. Your guys' first game up on stage of the weekend though, what was your guys' general game plan?
Would I do some more reviews for Bad Panda? Absolutely, I'm going to be doing a lot of content for Pros Corner.
We actually scrimmed Alpha Sydney, so we kind of knew how to play. It's pretty basic and it's not very difficult. So.
Oh. Savage from Mystic.
But yeah, well, I know that when all of us like show up and Fairy Peak does well, that we're just insane as a team. So I was just hoping my teammates would handle the pressure well, and it would have been a pretty easy win.
Very nice, very nice.
Savage from Mystic, easy win.
Now for you.
He didn't know the players' names. Nah, Joey did know the players' names. He was hanging out at the venue all the time, up to the event.
You seem really hyped, and you were like, oh,
Who owns the account? Merc, that spectates all the games, and who is in control of the camera. This time I believe the camera control was done mostly by Yumi Cheeseman, but also Shogun and Wavepunk a little bit, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, getting the first one of the day is definitely going to help. Obviously, Rogue are a really good team, so being hyped for this game is giving me a little bit more confidence, and maybe I'll be nuts again. So.
That's awesome. Anything else you'd like to say to your fans or anyone out there watching?
Just keep cheering for us. I know.
I feel like right there when Mystic says, keep cheering for us, I know, and then pauses, he's probably like, keep cheering for us, I know that nobody likes Mockit, but cheer for us as individuals. I feel he probably wanted to say that, but then he's like, wait, I can't say that.
Alright guys, from Mystic, thank you so much. We're gonna head it back to the
Wait, was that it? Keep cheering for us, I know that blank.
Cheering for us. I know.
Keep cheering for us, I know, clap. And then, alright, that's it. Let's wrap it up. Good interview. Keep cheering for us, I know that blank. Yeah, you can't say nobody likes Mockit on camera. That would be a little bit inappropriate. I wonder.